Hi, I'm Judy Gregerson, and I'm here today with Neil. And Neil is a fellow that I met, Neil, about 2 months ago, maybe.
Yep.
Neil came to me for a Mace session. He had heard about us where? Where did you hear about Mace, Neil?
I had heard about you because you were so highly talked about by Jerry Marzinski, and I'd been
Mm,
watching a lot of Jerry Marzinski, which his videos sort of tie into my story.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so what was going on in your life at the time that you were seeking out help with Mace? What were you struggling with?
Well, all sorts of things. I'd been struggling. I'd lived like a 15 to 20-year existence of substance abuse, be it alcohol and opiates, and towards the end, amphetamines. Um, and I had kicked most of those. Um, but I just had an absolutely chaotic mind that just, you know, when I was in the throes of addiction with amphetamines, I had at one point become fully um, schizophrenic for like 3 years. It was the most horrifying and terrible thing I'd ever dealt with. I, uh, and that lasted for a long time. But even though I wasn't necessarily hearing voices, I still had a very chaotic mind. And I just didn't know how to sit and be still. What really was bugging me the most was I felt like I'd been a Christian my whole life, though not living like one at multiple times. I just felt like I couldn't connect with God. I felt like something was wrong. And I prayed a lot. I prayed a lot to help figure out what was going on, to help me with my addictions and different things. Um, and so I was just there are a lot of things that come from that anger. And then there was, there was some more addiction with stuff that's actually legal called kratom, which was an absolute nightmare as well. But yeah, I just started studying about schizophrenia because I just felt like there was something there, and I stumbled onto a Jerry Marzinski video where he kind of proves that schizophrenia isn't actually a hallucination because of some patterns that exist within it. But then he talked about the only thing he'd actually seen, whereas psychiatrists and different people were pushing medical like pills and different things to try and help with past traumas. He said that that's kind of a lot of that is BS for most people, and the only thing he'd ever seen work consistently was something called mace. And then he name dropped you a few times, and so I immediately looked you up and found out you were actually kind of close to me in Washington. But then I reached out to you just to see if you could get me some help trying to just ease my mind. And it wasn't even a reach out in a spiritual sense at all. It was just there was just so much chaos in my brain. It's really hard to explain if you haven't felt it, but I think
Well, I remember watching you go through it. So,
yeah,
well, the other thing too, Neil, was that when you called me, one of the things that you talked about was that you'd been going through a period of crying out to God and repenting and really crying out to God for help.
big time.
And I remember I said to you, I said, "Well, Neil, it's your lucky day because deliverance is for the desperate." And I really believe that because
Yeah,
you were 100% there. You'd gone through repenting of things that you'd done. You'd gone through forgiveness with people. You'd
yeah,
gone through everything. So you were like so ready for deliverance. But the odd thing is that we weren't planning on doing deliverance. We were
correct.
planning on doing mace. So
Right.
I'll tell the story a little bit. I started doing mace with Neil, and we got through one or two procedures, and he just kept telling me that I have this chaos mind. And I remember asking him, what is it doing? Well, it was putting pictures in your head, and it was flashing colors, and it was just making it impossible for you to do what you need to do in mace, which is to focus on an
Right.
image that your mind has made.
Impossible. Yeah.
It was impossible. And so I tried, I think, 4 times. Then I realized we're not going to get anywhere with this. This is this isn't going anywhere real fast for Neil. So I said to you, well, let's shift gears. let's just shift gears. And
Yeah,
it was a quick gear shift. And so I'll tell a little bit of what I did, and then you can explain your experience. So I just
sure.
started praying and asking God, how do you want me to pray for Neil? Because I had no idea what was going on in your head. I had no
Right.
idea what you were dealing with. Um, and so I just began to ask God what to pray, and He began to put words in my head, and I began to pray, and I began to
Yeah.
command these things: fear and anxiety and anger and resentment and bitterness and addiction
Addiction and amphetamine. Yeah.
and amphetamines and all that stuff. And eventually I named chaos brain.
Yeah.
So share a little bit about what that was like for you, what you went through.
Well, yeah, that and you're right. I 100% had been crying out because I had seen some YouTube videos about people. There's kind of a deliverance wave that's pushing through America and probably the world. And that had really clicked with me because I just felt so disconnected from God for so long. And so I just kept praying and praying and praying that if there was some way, if that's what's going on with me, connect me with something. Because most of the people I know don't think Christians can have demons or be possessed, which I can assure you is not true. Maybe if you're living perfectly, but I was not. So
So
eh,
tell me about a little bit about the experiences I began to pray, because
you bet.
you went through a real physical reaction
Oh, it was
to it.
so
I was
so
watching
unreal.
you going, whoa,
Yeah, it,
because it was,
I think I guess I don't really. It was we closed our eyes to pray, and you started praying like commanding prayers. It was kind of the first time I'd heard, um, not in an arrogant way, but like demanding almost
yeah,
with the power of Jesus things to happen. And I closed my eyes and I just started sobbing, uh, like just I mean just and without you saying anything too specific yet, it just started sobbing, and then it just like kind of groaning like I thought I was going to throw up, and it was very visceral. And it you could just it felt like something was being pulled out of my chest. And I was and at a couple points I thought I was going to throw up, and I didn't I didn't throw up, but I I wasn't I wasn't fighting it either, and like that it had to go on for 5 straight minutes at least, maybe longer. I don't know, but uh, I think I knocked over the phone at one time because I was just rocking back and forth and like sobbing and dry heaving almost, and it was super powerful. And then I think as it kind of climaxed, and then it just kind of slowly built back down to where I was just kind of. I think I was just crying, but almost with relief. And we stopped, and you stop praying, and you go, Neil, you knocked over the phone. How you doing over
yeah.
there? And I like wiped my eyes and I pulled it up and I was like, what was that? I was like, what the
Mhm.
F was that? I've never, what was that? I almost wish maybe it's good that there wasn't a camera on because I wonder what was happening to my face, to my body. But,
Well, I'll tell
and
you, because
there was,
I was watching you, your face went deep red. You sweat as if somebody had poured a quart of water over your head.
yeah, big time.
And your eyes are all scrunched up. You were dry heaving. You were going back and forth. You look like, I think you said to me at one point, you felt like your head was going to explode. You felt pressure on your head, I
Oh, yeah.
think. And I watched you go through that, and I'm thinking, I don't know if this is good or not. I thought, well, I'm just following what God says to do. And so we did that. And then we came to the end of it. And I remember saying to you, I said to you, Neil, how is, because that big thing was that chaos mind. And you talked to me a lot about you've been in
Yeah,
chaos mind for 20 years or so since you had that
easily. Yeah,
schizophrenia stuff going on. And that you'd never really been allowed to think your own thoughts. You'd never been allowed
yeah.
to really see your own thoughts. Everything was put in there. Everything was intrusively put into your head 24 hours a day. Is that right?
One, all 100%.
Yeah. So I said to you when we were done, I said, Neil, how's your mind?
Oh, it was so peaceful. And it was quiet for for the first time, and I did kind of felt like I got run over by a truck to a degree. Like I think I had a little bit of a headache, but I it was like you could hear what was going on outside of the window, without thinking about anything else, which was very strange and surreal. And I
You
I
hadn't heard that level of noise in a long time?
haven't been able to notice it. I'm sure I heard it, but and I told my wife too, that over the next few weeks it got strange for me, almost almost lonely, because it was so quiet in my head and I had to readjust how I thought, because I just was used to chaos. I was just
Mhm.
always used to chaos, and then sitting there and not and just being, I was like, what is this? I don't know what this is. And it's something I've completely fallen in love with. But at first I felt I felt very awkward about it. It felt very, I guess, just because it was
Do you feel
such a new
empty?
thing. Oh,
Do you
big
feel
time
empty?
empty. Yeah.
Empty, yeah.
For a while I did, but there were so many benefits to that emptiness that allowed me to focus on the kids, do other things. It man, I just it was so surreal that, like, I worry that they're like, everyone I know, still all the people I grew up with in church say that you can't, if you're a Christian, I mean, and maybe that's because they didn't do 10 years of amphetamines, granted,
Mhm.
but they say that, like, you can't be possessed or can't have spirits or yada yada if you're a Christian. And I'm going, like, that is not correct as far as I can tell. I don't
Yeah.
know how small of a grasp you can give a spirit to take over you, if it has to be a big grasp like I gave them. But I think there is some missing doctrine out there on that stuff.
Well, they certainly can get involved in your mind. I mean, I see it all the time.
Yeah,
And they certainly come out through the body as you dry heat. So I don't think of it as possessed. I think of it as demonized. There's different
yeah,
levels of demonization. But
yeah.
because possess that word I think is a misnomer. It's
You're
not
thinking of
for me.
someone's head spinning around and vomiting
Oh
on the
yeah,
wall. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So for me, it's they're demonized. They have the influence and the impact of demons on their life who have grabbed onto parts of their life like that. Mind chaos grabbed onto your mind. It ran your mind for
for a
20
long
years,
time. Yeah.
a long time. So tell me something, and then we'll finish this up. Tell me how you've walked this out and what has happened in terms spiritually with you and with the Lord and with your family and how God has pulled all the rest of it together for you.
Well, it 100% didn't it didn't fix everything, but it gave me this new path, that you teaching me how to pray with, I don't know quite how to say it, well, like confidence and power, like, praying with, like I'm in charge of things,
With
has,
authority.
with authority, that I pray like that before bed every night. And I haven't, since I was a little kid, like 5 years old, I haven't had a week where I didn't have a nightmare where I woke up screaming. And and sometimes it's more than that. Like, I've been drowned in nightmares, and it's my least favorite thing. I've always hated sleeping because of that. And me and you chatted the other night, a couple weeks ago, and you told me about some prayer lists to go through, and I started praying in authority over that, and I have slept like a baby. Like, I can't even explain how much that has changed my life. It almost makes me emotional, because that was such a scary thing for me, going to bed. But there, you know, you clear your mind, and I'm still kind of an a-hole sometimes. I still get frustrated with the kids. It didn't fix everything, but it connected me more with God. It's really helped me understand the spirit world, and I feel like,
Connected you with yourself. It
big
gave you
time,
yourself back.
big time. And it's allowing me to see things more clearly on how I am doing things and how I want to be different as well. And
Mhm.
that will take more work, but it couldn't have happened, I don't think, without, what we went through.
So tell me something then. So would you recommend deliverance for people who are struggling with I've heard of other people dealing with this mind chaos. I have a lot of people that come to me that hear voices. What would your recommendation be to them?
I think the only if someone's dealing with schizophrenia, The whole way I beat that originally was with prayer, and I wasn't praying from authority. That was just me begging day after day after day for it to get better. I think someone who's more trained to help someone pray through it. If you're dealing with voices, it is spirits. And I think the only way you can deal with that is through authoritative prayer and deliverance. And I think maybe nowadays with YouTube and stuff, people are kind of understanding the deliverance thing, but I don't think anyone understands how bad they probably need it, especially in a world like ours where we're just inundated with trash from the TV, or maybe partying on the weekends, but still trying to do the thing on Sunday. I think even if you're not schizophrenic, there's probably some spirits that you're not recognizing toying with you, at least putting bad thoughts between you and your wife, or you and your husband, or I think there's so much of that going on that people have no clue about,
Hmm.
and I think
Well, I
that it
agree
would
with you.
change their life.
I see so many people that are coming in that hear voices and that are tormented on one level or another, emotionally, some of
Yeah,
them physically. Well,
yeah,
I'm gonna close up, Neil. Thank you for coming and sharing that. Thank you for being willing to share your testimony. It means a lot to me.
of
It'll help a
course.
lot of people to understand what it's like, and what it's like to come out the other side of it. And of course, we didn't go
Yeah,
into it to do deliverance, but I do
no,
deliverance and mace, and we kind of had to change track because there
yeah.
was no other way to get you free. So
Well, it's
thank
it's
you.
impossible to describe how we could have came across each other without just me crying out for help nonstop. And it was one of the most important things that's ever happened to me.
Well, and it's interesting too because you so impressed me when I first met you because you were so ready. And
Oh
like I
my
said,
God.
deliverance is for the desperate. You were desperate. I remember thinking, this guy's going to get free. I don't know what God's going to do, but something's going to happen. You're going to get free, and God took care of it because
Yeah,
you were 100% in. And I've seen people who aren't 100% in,
yeah,
and it's tough to deal with them. Well, listen, I'm going to go, but thank you again,
of course.
and I'll talk to you soon. And
Sounds good.
have a great week, Neil. Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Judy. I'm so glad
Okay,
we met.
okay, bye bye.
Bye bye.